So as you all join us, we'll wait another minute for more people who are going to be joining, and we welcome you to go ahead and get into the chat and just drop a brief introduction, tell us your name and where you're from and what your job position is. And maybe we can do that for the next minute or so while we're waiting. Thanks, everybody. And I'm also going to mention that our slides that we're going to be using for our presentation today are available, and you all can go ahead and access those slides now. There's a bit.ly link on the slide on my screen that I'm sharing with you all. And I think we can also drop that link into the chat.
I just put it there, Brian.
Oh, thanks, Emily. All right.
Ooh, Kingsburg.
Right. Melanie's from Kingsburg, another Valley resident. Welcome and good morning.
There's a really great pizza place in Kingsburg, and Casaro's, I think is the name of it. Mm-hmm. They make these like pizza twist things. I don't know. Delicious.
Cool. Good morning, Martha from Newport Mesa District in Orange County. You're an EdTech TOSA. We are EdTech specialists, so almost the same thing. Great. And see, Jason's also, it's Jason and Martha from the same district, both from Orange County. Both EdTech TOSAs, welcome. And Steve Harmon is an EdTech TOSA for Oak Grove in San Jose. All right.
There's another Oak Grove, but down south. At least I think so. Your it is Casaro's. I might be pronouncing it incorrectly, but your youngest daughter works there. That's cool.
All right. Melanie is joining us. Melanie, of course, it's fine to leave. Yes, you don't need our permission. That's wonderful that you're joining us on your vacation. I know a lot of people have the week off. We do not. This is a regular work day for us. We actually have a full work day tomorrow as well. So in series, we don't get any time off until actual Thanksgiving Thursday. All right. You're getting the you need access message when entering the bit.ly link. Is anyone else having difficulty with the bit.ly link? Okay. Just double check and make sure that we have the. Oh, silly me. I forgot to make the presentation available to everybody.
We tried to check all the other links.
We checked all the other links, but we didn't make the main link. Oh, geez. Okay, that's our glitch for today. Sorry about that, everybody.
Yeah.
All right, try accessing our slides now. You should be able to get them. I apologize for that. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And again, welcome everybody to our session. And we have a lot packed into our 40-minute presentation today. So I want to start right off by just again reminding you, if you haven't already done so, drop your name, where you're from, and your job description in the chat so we all get a chance to know who you are. And our presentation has 4 main parts. We're going to talk about who we are first. Then we're going to talk about where we've been. We've been on a bit of a journey. Our third section is where we are now, and that's actually going to be probably most of the presentation. And then at the very end, we will talk about where we're going. And distance learning has certainly been an adventure. So that's why I picked a little bit of an adventure theme for the slides today. So I hope you enjoy that. And let's go ahead and start with who we are. My name is Brian Wise, and I am one of the District Education Technology Specialists here in Ceres. And I will let my 2 counterparts, my 2 partners, introduce themselves now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Bryan, and I'm also an EdTech Specialist in Ceres.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mariana Sandoval, and I'm also an EdTech.
Great. Thanks, Emily and Mariana. And I want to tell you a little bit about where we come from. Before we begin our presentation, we would like to acknowledge that the land of our district and the city of Ceres is Yokuts land. The name Stanislaus County comes from the chief the chief Kukunuchi, who is a Yakutsk leader. He was removed from his land when he was a child to go to Mission San Jose, where he was given the Spanish name Estanislao. He rebelled against the Spanish forces and the Mexican authorities and led the Yakutsk people into an active rebellion in the early 19th century. So we honor the heritage of the land that we sit upon. Today, the community of Ceres, where we live and work, is located just south of Modesto. Our district has 22 campuses. We have an ADA of just under 15,000 students, and that's in grades TK through 12. So we are a comprehensive public K-12 district. 82% of our students qualify for free or reduced meals. 31% of our students are classified as English learners. And I know we have some folks in the call today who are from other parts of the Central Valley and all over California. So I just wanted to start off by acknowledging where we come from and what the reality is in our district. So I'm going to kind of move on and hand the presentation over to Mariana, who's going to tell us about our history with our digital learning, which began long before there was a pandemic. So Mariana, would you like to talk about that?
Thank you, Brian. Yes, so really what it came down to is preparing our district for what we called is our one-to-world transformation. So most people might say one-to-one. We use the term one-to-world to giving our students access to the world. And this came about and we decided that we knew that our infrastructure needed to be in place and we needed to upgrade our network. We have currently, all the information you see here is current, and we are a take-home district, so our students take home devices. We provide wireless access throughout our district for our students, and we have currently over 15,000 Chromebooks. But again, all of these things were very important, and when it comes down to it, the bottom line is with the pandemic, we were not starting from scratch. So we had all of these things in place. And again, mobile hotspots, as you can see, we have over 2,000 now that were distributed, but ready for students. So we had what we needed necessarily for the next steps into distance learning. And here's our professional timeline. Really, we built a foundation for our teachers by setting a vision with our teachers. And if you look back in October of 2014, this was before One-to-World when we were ready to distribute every Chromebook to students. We had to make sure that teachers had access to the technology, which were the Chromebooks. So we distributed carts for students and for teachers to use with students. And we also made sure that teachers had the skill development necessary. So from January through to February of 2015, we did a lot of just training and for teachers to make sure that they were on board. But what we did is we started with administrators and management, and we made sure that they were on board and they were supportive and they understood the technologies. And then we moved on to teachers, and we also included office managers and even board members. We trained them, and this was on all the G Suite and Google apps for education, and those foundational skills that provided the skills necessary to move forward with our implementation. And then in March of 2017, we began to transform our professional learning, and we looked at it in a sense of how can we best build capacity for our teachers, and what does that look like? So we reached out we have site tech reps at each of our sites who are teachers, but they also take on additional technology roles with education. And we trained them and we got them on board as well to train other teachers. And then in every other year in March, we had what's called a summit. So what that looked like is just like kind of like what we imagine a regular summit would look like. Our teachers got together and they delivered professional learning to each other. So they taught each other and they shared expertise with other teachers. So this was kind of our our change, where it kind of started beginning with the transformation process. But then we didn't want to just stop there and think like, okay, now we got teachers on board, we're building capacity. We knew that there could be more. So that leads us to where we are now. So what we did is we redesigned our professional development from all of our experience with what we just talked about right now, and how can we really make education, professional learning for our teachers, and how can we really vamp that up and make it innovative. And we knew we could do more, and this was the beginning of our transformation. So in the beginning, we had to limit our focus to a small number of truly essential tools needed for distance learning. So again, everybody knows we went through the pandemic and we're in distance learning. So we had to think of strategies to make it so that way when our teachers were ready. So again, we talked about in the past the baseline knowledge of the Google apps. In the next few slides, we're going to talk more about the flexibility we gave to teachers to provide professional learning. So it's not about the tool, and we made sure that we didn't want teachers to really know that it's not, again, about the tool. It's about how purposeful we can use the tool to elevate student learning. Our aim was to make sure that our teachers had established a baseline, a level knowledge. However, we were also planning ahead as a post-pandemic future. So you'll notice that in our slide deck that we're going to be sharing with you, that we don't focus on distance learning, we focus on digital learning. So that way we know that we're trying to emphasize tools that will just be useful for learning even after students return. So this is the flexibility that we're going to be talking about, our system that we put into place. We have 60-minute Zooms that we offered for teachers that were paid, live Zoom webinars that they attended on different topics of tools. And then we also recorded these tools. We took them and put them in a tool called Edpuzzle, where teachers could go back and they can watch these webinars at their own time. And we provided links, we provided questions, and then we also allowed for teachers to be able to work at their own pace. And this involved a badge project that we are working with Scoe, who is our County Office of Education, closely to be able to provide opportunities for our teachers to receive badges. And Emily is going to talk a little bit more about this. And one thing to keep in mind, at all these opportunities that we provided for teachers were paid. Okay, Emily, go ahead and jump right in.
Thank you, Mariana. So again, like Mariana said, we really focused on shifting our professional development for all of our staff members, including paraprofessionals, because they have a large impact with students right now. So and again, our focus was digital learning, not just distance learning. So we developed this document that you see flashing ferociously before you right now, to have it be a one-stop shop for all resources and support that teachers may come across for their digital pathway. So the link's right there, and we'll have Brian or Mariana put it in the chat for you as well. But we focused on the longevity of skills acquired and how they're really going to impact the future of learning. And we, again, developed that flexible learning pathway for staff to require any necessary skills in 4 main areas. And as you can see here, communication, teaching, connectivity, and assessment. So we kind of grouped everything under those 4 categories. And again, these options were available to almost all of our staff. So thank you, Brian, for clicking on the link. It takes you to the main slide, which everything is clickable. So if you advance to slide 3 for me, Brian. there's two kind of pathways. If you want to just learn about what we deem as essential here in our district, you can click on essential. There's a whole nother choose your own adventure type thing in the deeper dive section. So we're going to start off by showing you just the essentials tools section. And on the essential tools section, again, those are 4 categories there. And each one of those icons or tools will take you to another slide where we have broken it up into resources, tips, digital citizenship ideas. So Brian, why don't you go ahead and click on, let's say, Screencastify for me. So here we have our example Screencastify, how our students and teachers access the platform, any training resources we have, some additional tips, and then some digital citizenship ideas. You will see in the top right-hand corner that we have a link to an hour-long training video that previously was an Edpuzzle, but our paid time in Edpuzzle, or our paid, our offering for the paid for our teachers has ended. So we've linked the video there, and then teachers could then also earn the Scoe badge to showcase their learning, which is linked there as well. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for teachers and staff if they are wanting to learn more about Screencastify, and then also find some links to share with their students. And then after, if teachers feel they have a strong foundation with these essential tools, they can navigate to our dive deeper section, which we actually formulated this or we adapted this from a presentation that we received at this Santa Cruz County Office of Ed Distance Learning Leadership Summit in the spring from Jake Miller. And we took those components and just added even more information and resources for our tool or for our teachers if they want to dive deeper on how to give feedback to students. So if you click on feedback, it takes you to a slide with a lot of resources, with ideas and some tools that may help accomplish that that idea or tip, but you could certainly use a variety. So we're focusing more on not the tools, but what the tools can do for you. And then we worked with our county office to develop a whole badging platform for that dive deeper section as well. So that's a little bit about our resource. We do want to highlight one more thing in this robust resource that we put together. Slide 4, Brian, has a parent guide. So this was also crucial that we worked with a local business, Shub Photography, to help us design this parent guide to, again, digital learning, not distance learning. So we came up with the idea, they helped us with the design work, and we were actually able to get this printed and in the hands of every family or student in our district in English and in Spanish. And this guide, I actually have one sitting right here. This guide walks parents through how to connect their Chromebooks to the internet at home, how to or where to look to check for assignments, how to troubleshoot if the Chromebook's not working, some tips on digital citizenship for helping navigate the digital world with their child at home. So accessibility features on the Chromebooks. So this guide, it was really beneficial to our families. And again, English and Spanish, one book. So parents have this to reference at any time. So that was a really, really awesome project that we did and was very helpful to our families. So wanted to point that out. Thank you, Brian. I kind of talked a little bit already about our dive deeper section, but we did want to continue engaging staff beyond just the basics and the essential tools. So we have that section to promote more innovative practices after they have laid the solid foundation. So next slide, Brian. Again, we couldn't have accomplished these flexible PD options without the support from our County Office of Ed, what we call Scoe. And they had previously developed this robust digital badge platform, and I believe it was part of a Google Innovator project with them. And that's okay. They graciously worked with us to add badges that we needed. For example, they didn't have a badge on and I'm totally drawing a blank right now. They didn't have a badge on Pathblazer, so we developed a badge on Pathblazer for them, and they hosted on their website and for us. And then we also created those series of badges on the Dive Deeper section for teachers to showcase their knowledge on those topics so that we could pay them for their professional development time. So with the live webinars that we offered on the 11 tools, the recordings made available in Edpuzzle to watch at their leisure, or the completion of the badge. So those were the 3 ways that teachers could showcase their knowledge or just learn. It was a huge success. And Brian, if you want to show us the numbers on the next slide, we had 3,897 hours of professional development completed since this whole school closure thing, and it just continues on. We keep getting notifications every week of what teachers that have earned new badges. So we have really changed the culture of professional development in our district. We had over 1,000 badges earned. Again, over 1,200 participants working on those Edpuzzle asynchronous lessons. And then with our live participation, we had about 1,500 people log in live throughout, or 1,500 participants log in throughout our 11 live webinars. So it was absolutely amazing. And we got great feedback from teachers and staff that they really appreciated these flexibility options so that they could adapt their learning to what they need at that time. And it's only going to perpetuate learning to come for our students. So thank you, Brian.
All right, and before I continue on to the next phase of our presentation, I want to take a pause. I know I've answered a couple of questions in the chat, and I just want to give an opportunity, if any of you have any questions about the resources we've just shared, go ahead and either type in the chat, or if you like, you can unmute yourself and ask. Does anybody have any questions? Trying to use an appropriate amount of wait time. All right. I'm not seeing any questions. I know there were a couple in the chat. Somebody asked whether the trainings were mandatory or optional. They were optional, and they were paid though. So any teachers who attended the trainings or watched on the webinars or earned badges from our county office, no matter which method they used, they were able to get some extra duty pay. And we began that payment, I believe, back in August, several weeks before school started.
I do want to point out though, Brian, that the time for being paid has ended, and we still continue to get teachers completing badges and watching our videos. So again, we have just completely shifted the culture of professional development in our district to that they just want to learn now. So I think that's really amazing.
Yes, and I also just want to mention the Stanislaus County Office of Education. They put a lot of work into developing some incentives for earning the badges. So like sometimes people ask us, well, why do I want to get a badge? What do I get other than this little badge? Well, every month they do a prize drawing And so teachers are rewarded professionally in terms of, maybe they have a chance to win something like a show ticket or meals at local restaurants, some things that are very nice, high quality prizes. And also the badges are portable. Every school district pretty much in our county at least understands what the badges are. And many of the larger districts in our county are partners in the program. So when people earn badges in one district, they can put them on their resume, they can put them in their email signature. And, then that's recognized that that it's a recognition of the knowledge and skills that they've developed when they, maybe when they apply for a job or something like that. We try to share these badges with student teachers and interns and people like that who are just starting their career as educators. Okay, so any other questions before we move on? All right. Well, so I want to kind of bring it home and talk a little bit about where we're going. And of course, take everything with a grain of salt because it's a bit of an uncertain future. No one really knows what's going to happen even in the next few weeks, let alone the next year or two. So it's certainly been an adventure again. But one of the things that we want to do is we keep being informed by this quote, and I don't know who originally thought of this quote for our current situation, but we never let a good crisis go to waste. And that's an old Winston Churchill quote that I know has been cited in many other contexts. So what we are planning to do is going back to school, hopefully sooner than later. We actually do have some students attending classes now in a hybrid model at our elementary level for grades K through 6. They are attending 2 days per week. So we have started a hybrid learning program. And then the days that they're not in class, they're doing some independent work with our Pathblazer program. But when that day comes, when we all return, we want to make sure that the skills that teachers and students have learned throughout distance learning are going to accelerate future achievement. Students should be able to transfer this knowledge, we hope, to college and career pathways. And am I not in present mode? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll go to present mode. So we know distance learning has been a very challenging task, and it continues to be a very challenging task, but we did want to recognize that our teachers have been taking risks with technology. And I know that's something that we talked about a lot yesterday during a lot of the presentations yesterday with when we focused on engagement. We were very proud that a lot of our teachers really stepped up and tried new innovative practices. And to be honest, there was a little bit of a tension there. We didn't want teachers to go too overboard and feel like they had to learn too many tech tools. We've tried to kind of maintain this, this idea that just pick a few tools that will work for you, pick the tools that are most essential and get really good at them and find ways that they really help your students, and then maybe move on to another tool. Because we were aware that with technology, sometimes people can feel overwhelmed when they feel like they have to learn 18 different platforms just to teach their lessons. So, so we kind of carry that message forward into the future. But we're hoping also to kind of decrease the emphasis on the tool. And if you remember, I'm going to go back for a few slides. You remember this deeper dive idea. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. The deeper dive slides, you'll notice we don't have the names of any specific tools on this slide. You won't see Pear Deck or Google Classroom on this slide because we don't feel that that is where the conversation should be moving in the future. In the future, let's talk about what we want to accomplish in our classroom. What goal are we trying to achieve, or what problem are we trying to solve? And so instead of talking about feedback as a tool, we talk about feedback as a whole suite of ideas, which includes maybe a lot of tools, and maybe it's a different tool for each teacher or each lesson or each unit. So we're trying to kind of shift that conversation moving forward. And I'm going to skip back here. I also want to have, I also would like you all to read this quote from Sonny Magana. If you don't know who Sonny Magana is, He developed a framework, a conceptual framework for education technology known as the T3 framework. So hopefully you've heard of T3. If not, I would encourage you to check him out, but I'll just pause for a sec and let everybody read this quote. All right. And does that quote resonate with anyone? Does anyone have any ideas they'd like to share or thoughts about this quote? Using my wait time again. All right. I don't hear anybody sharing any ideas. So anyway, what this really means to us is that we have to consider the digital contexts that students have and where they live. We know that students in the past in our district, we had a lot of direct instruction, and we were basically telling our students what to learn, and we were telling them all the importance of what they were learning, and we were telling them how they needed to learn it. And a big emphasis moving forward, of course, the distance learning has kind of emphasized the problems that arise with that kind of a model. But we're trying to give our students more opportunities to have choices, to express their creativity, and to involve their own passion, their own voice into their learning. These are not easy things to solve. This is a culture shift basically for our whole organization from the top down, and it's a lot. And distance learning, in some ways we joke around. In some ways it happened at a really lucky time because we were just starting to have these conversations in our district anyway. But then on the other hand, it's very terrible that something like this has happened to us, and that our classrooms have been so disrupted, and our students' lives and their families' lives have been so disrupted by this pandemic. So that's why we try to keep our focus on digital learning. And you won't see the word distance learning in very many places in this presentation and in our resources. We really imagine that these resources should be usable moving forward. So the slides that we shared with you, the videos, the trainings that we shared with you today, we do not intend to stop using those in the spring or next year, whenever the students come back. We're going to keep moving and keep moving forward, keep using those resources.
Brian, I think you made a good point when you talked about student voice and choice. And I think that goes along with a little bit of the beginning of the presentation when we talked about the professional learning and how we grow from the foundational skills to the more transferable and transformation into innovative professional learning has a lot to do with choice and teacher choice and how they want to receive that professional learning by what Emily shared with the webinars versus the badges versus the webinar badges, which one am I forgetting? Yeah, and so the choices that we give to the teachers allow them to be able to choose, and we wanted to model the type of professional learning that we want to show them, so they have choice, so that when they go back to the classroom realizing how important choice is, they can model that with their own students. So that was really important to us too in planning and when we developed this, and giving teachers the ability to learn on their own by showing them how we can provide professional learning by not just giving it through something like direct instruction, but we allow them to be able to click and browse and learn on their own. And we modeled exactly how we want them to then take that and use that same type of technique with their own students in the classroom, letting them be able to learn on their own, Google things, find things out. So that was really important too in our planning when we delivered this to teachers.
Great, thanks, Mariana. So we've kind of reached a little bit of an endpoint for our formal presentation. We do have a couple of choices now. I know that looking at the clock, we still have a few minutes left in our time. So one option is we have a 3-minute video that our technology team prepared that highlights some of the innovations and some of the creative practices that our teachers have been using. They feature actual teachers. So I'll go ahead and play that video in a moment for those of you who want to stick on and watch it. Please feel free to stick around, ask questions in the chat, and then after the video is done, we can continue. We have about a minute or two left after that. But if you want to skip out early and start your break before the session 2 starts, we also have an evaluation. Jen has shared a link in the chat. That's also very important. We would really appreciate your feedback. So please have a chance to click on that. Maybe you can do that while you're watching the video. So I'll go ahead and hit play on that. Again, thank you all for joining us today, and we appreciate all the great work that you do for your students. So I'm going to share my screen again. And let's see, hopefully I do this right. There we go.
One of my biggest successes was asking students for input on how the course was going. We were initially moving at a pace that wasn't sustainable for the students or my own mental health. And so talking to them, getting their input on what's working, what's not working, and maybe what I should start doing really allowed them to have a voice and help make distance learning more effective for them.
One success that we've had with distance learning, I think the biggest one is bringing families together to work with us. The collaboration between families and teachers has been amazing, so I've really enjoyed working with families and getting to know them and working with them to make sure their student is successful.
The one success I would say that I've had with distance learning would be using the Seesaw program, just because I can keep in contact with students. I can watch their videos, I can track their progress, they can see videos and things of me. So just keeping that connection and building relationships that way.
So one success story I've had so far with distance learning is I'm still getting high participation rates from students. Students are engaged, they have their cameras on, and they're moving. And once we're done with the routine, I have students submit their dance video via Flipgrid, and just to see what students are coming up with creatively. We focus on 4 different things: location, lighting, execution, and also they have a chance to choreograph their own section towards the end of the routine.
Some of the really big successes we've had with distance learning so far is using GoGuardian. It's become such a powerful tool in our classrooms, provided us a way to communicate with our kids through messages. Another great thing about it is being able to auto-open tabs. We have kids sometimes that struggle to get to a site. You can auto-open it for them right there, which is awesome.
So a challenge that I encountered was how to conduct the calorimetry lab for chemistry. I ended up creating 2 videos and produced data for the students, and the students are still able to complete the assignment through watching my video. I also plan to send out an email with a list of materials that students can use from home. I'm trying to engage the parents as well, so labs can still be done from home using home materials, and they can still have the hands-on activities.
Another challenge of distance learning is how students show their demonstration of learning the material that we are giving them. In mathematics, it's very difficult for students to be able to show learning by using symbols and equations not readily available on a keyboard. So one of our success has been trying different digital tools and platforms. And recently as a math team, we have found the drawing tool on Pear Deck, which has been really, really beneficial. It allows us to give a problem to students, and then students can draw right on their Chromebook with their touchscreen or their stylus that they were given, and allow us to give feedback in real time.
All right, so thank you very much again, everybody, for watching that and for sticking with us until the end. We're going to stay on the line if you have questions, but at 10:30, we do have a 10-minute break before you head off to your second session. Thanks a lot, everybody.